Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to do a quick guide on how to get a high score in the Noelle events. Now personally right now I am only ranked number 22 and my points is 3,573, which in all honesty is not very high at all compared to some of the crazy monsters at the top of the ranking. Now I know exactly what's the strategy they're using, however I'm not able to replicate them because my gears are not good enough. I'm not able to deal high enough damage. So the point of my guide today is actually more about what are the different ways of how you can achieve high score. I'm going to show you the strategy I use. I'm also going to tell you what are the strategies other top players are using, so that basically you have loads of different options on how to go about it, because not everyone's going to have the same box, not everyone's going to have the same SSR characters and so on. So it's just not feasible for everyone to achieve such a high score. So I'm just going to give you a bunch of different options that you can all try out, and hopefully with still 1 week remaining, every one of you out there watching this can all get the best reward possible for example coming in the top 100. So this is what I'm going to try to do today. Now I'm going to briefly mention let me talk first, give a background about exactly what is this Noelle event and what is the main strategy going about it. This Noelle event basically split into two halves. The first half you are facing up against 4 bubbles, and then in the second half you are gonna face up against Noelle, who would be constantly putting up a barrier. She would also have a certain time limit that you have to kill her off, because otherwise it's game over. So right now, the way you score points is that there's very different actions that you can do. There's one action which I don't think is true because I tried it, it didn't work. Like this one, have an R character. I don't know whether my translation is just bad when I have used the in-game translations. So if anyone out there actually understand Japanese and can tell me what this actually says, then that'd be great. If you can let me know in the comment section, because I tried 2 R characters, none of them managed to give me that extra 400 points. So I don't actually think that's true. But all of the other ones are predominantly gonna be based on some kind of action you do. For example, you get extra points if you do normal attack. So I can't remember whether you get extra points for normal attack, but you definitely get extra points for buffs and debuffs, etc. And that's basically the idea. You want to actually take really long time in the first phase when you're up against those 4 bubbles. You want to take a really long time to build up all of your buffs, just keep on playing around, drag out the battle for as long as possible to all of those buffs and debuffs to take place. And then in the second half, you want to quickly kill off Noelle. And this is actually like more like a balancing problem, because what happens is that if you bring, let's say, all tanks and all healers, that kind of things in the first phase, yes, you will be able to make the battle drag out really, really long. However, then you are under serious pressure in the second half in order to actually then kill off Noelle quick enough in time. And that's why I say it's a balancing act. And right now, from what I'm able to see in the leaderboard, all the people at the top with over 10,000 points, etc. All of them are using teams with no DPS, as you can see here, right? All of them are using teams with no DPS. Like top 10, no DPS. 11, you do have Lotus, so that's kind of DPS. 12, rank 12, you do not have. Rank 13, you actually have Blue Armies. That's like the first DPS I'm able to see. Oh, I also know the strategy this guy is using, which is also very, very cool. So I will also talk about that. But yeah, as you can see, vast majority of the people near the top are not using any DPS. And this is what I meant by, I know exactly the strategy they're using, but I'm not able to do it because if I put in a team with no DPS, I know I wouldn't be able to kill off Noelle fast enough in the second phase because my characters are not strong enough. I do not have high gears and all of that, or skill pages, etc. So I'm not able to do that. So I can only go with what I am able to do, which I will show you with the actual demo. But this is kind of the strategy for I guess getting the highest score possible, is that you want to bring all healers or tanks or supporters to constantly buff and debuff. And on that note, I'm going to tell you who are the best characters for all of this. Now, you can probably already tell who are the best characters if you just look at the leaderboard, but I'll explain in detail exactly who they actually, why they actually serve that role so well. So some of the best characters, this is in no particular order. Some of the best characters for this is going to be Finro. The reason why Finro is really good is because Finro's special attack and also skill 2 are all buffs without any attacks. So basically this means is that you are able to, out of your 3 attacks, you are able to only damage the enemy once. And that basically is going to make the enemy survive a lot longer, and therefore you're going to get more points. Similarly with Green Mimosa, 2 of the attacks are buffs, not actually hitting anyone, so this is going to be very good. Valtros, another one which is exactly the same. 2 attacks does not do any damage, so absolutely great here. You can see I max out my max and also Sister Lily. This is for what I'm trying to do. Our character didn't work, didn't get any extra points at all. So do not repeat the same mistake as I did. Do not use any R character. Doesn't seem to work for some reason. But yeah, back to the point. Some of the other characters, basically, you just want to use characters who have lots of buffing attacks without actually hitting people. So those will be really good. I don't have Vengeance in my box, but Vengeance also do the same thing. Vengeance have 2 buff attacks without actually hurting, doing any damage at all. So Vengeance is also a very good character for this. Some of the other characters who actually do have multiple attacks but also works really well would be, for example, Raditz. Raditz put up a show, so that's super defensive, but also himself being a tank doesn't actually do too much damage. Charmy is another good choice. Charmy is a healer, so basically you're able to give yourself more healing support to make the battle goes longer. You are not at risk of the enemy actually killing you. And the other thing that makes Charmy a really good choice is her skill 2, even though you actually do oh yeah, her skill 2 also doesn't do any damage, but also on top of that, she also gives you 1 extra skill point. And once again, you already know, skill point can potentially allow your other characters to actually then get their ultimate faster. And all of the characters I mentioned so far, all of their ultimates do not actually hit anyone. So once again, Charmy is another really solid choice. Her own ultimate actually do hit people, which is unfortunate. However, her combo attack does not do any damage. So I guess if you do want to use Charmy, use her combo attack so she doesn't actually do any damage. But at the same time, you're giving SP skill point to the rest of your team, allowing them to do their ultimate, which once again is only going to buff but not do any damage, and therefore you make the battle goes out for as long as possible without actually killing them, which is a key point here. Now, the other thing I'm going to talk about is there are certain characters who are able to score multiple points in a single hit, and that's kind of how I got a lot of my extra points from. So one good example would be Blue Yami. Blue Yami skill 2 is basically, first of all, able to, it's a skill 2, so kind of, I think already gets some points from there. But also on top of that, he also gets a buff himself. He also therefore get an extra points for the buff, so that's very good. Similarly for Mars, well, Mars's skill 1 right now, what you can see is that plus taunt, which doesn't give you any extra points. However, one trick I found with Mars is that if you actually switch his skill page to his exclusive, if you do have it, what's gonna happen is that now when he uses his skill 1, he's actually gonna get an increased defense, and that is actually a buff. So therefore, every single time when you actually equip Mars with a skill page and you use his skill 1, and skill 1 has no cooldown, so you can actually use this every single turn, you're going to score 80 points instead of 40 points. So that's actually going to be really nice as well. So, Mars is also a really good option if you do have the exclusive skill page. So all of these are really good characters, but yeah, the most important thing is that you want the battle to go out for as long as possible. And for that reason, if you do need to attack, what typically is going to recommend is that you do not use any AoE attacks either. I'll show this in my demo later on. So for example, even though Blue Yami's skill 2 is really strong and give me 80 points rather than 40 points, it's an AoE attack. So I only use that in the very end, because otherwise if I use it too early, I'm actually dealing out more damage if you actually add them all up, which is not something I want. What I really want to do is really control how much HP the enemy have, and then decide whether to use AoE or to use single target, etc. So those are kind of all good choices for phase 1. Now for phase 2, it goes a bit complicated. Like I said, if you actually have really good gear, you can potentially get away with having no DPS at all, which, as you can see, a lot of people are doing that and score insane amount of points. So that is definitely the best strategy if you do have really high gears and all of the resources to do that, to hit high amount of damage without any DPS. However, if you're like me, do not have good gears, etc., some of the good characters you want to use would be the ones who are able to increase the amount of damage you do. So Lotus, as for example, is what I did for his ability to incapacitate and also slow down Noelle, so Noelle doesn't put up shields all the time. Blue Yami is not a very, very good choice because his combo attack is actually have the ability to remove the shield, so that once again saves you loads of different turns, allowing you to take down Noelle as quickly as possible. Other characters are able to do that as well, would be Seasonal Aster, also able to remove kind of the barrier before attacking, so that's also very good. Oh, and also Soul, I forgot to mention, Soul is also another very interesting character. Because first of all, she is a tank, but she also have the ability of to actually a combo attack which remove. I swear she has a combo attack which remove a shield. Oh, it's this one, no combo attack, sorry. Her special attack have the potential to remove shield. 50% chance, so not consistent. But if you are playing this a lot, eventually will happen. RNG eventually will allow you to remove that shield. So this is also a really good choice. And because she's a tank, she doesn't actually do too much damage herself. So if you are kind of in the borderline where you are not able to get away with playing completely 0 DPS because Noelle would just, or the shield, etc., would take too long for you to take her down, then you can potentially try Soul, who once again is not DPS, but at least she has this added advantage in the second half because she can actually remove the shield and maybe help you out a bit better in the second phase against Noelle. So Soul is also another very good character to consider. There's someone else as well, which I was actually debating at one point, which is Catherine. I think that's her name. She also have the potential to remove shield, I believe, maybe from combo attack. Yeah, combo attack have the potential to remove shield. I previously thought she might be a really, really good choice because first of all, she's a debuffer, she doesn't do a huge amount of damage. Second of all, she's an R character and potentially can get that extra 400 bonus point. But then I found out that it's not true. I did not get any extra points at all using an R character. So I then kind of decided not to bother with her, even though I already leveled her to level 20. But just I don't think she would do very well anymore. But she could potentially be another interesting choice if you don't have Soul for whatever reason and you do need someone to remove the barrier. Alright, now I'm going to show you a demo of how I achieved my high score. Now, my score is not the highest, I already mentioned that, because the high score can only be achieved by throwing a team with no DPS. But my gears are not good enough, so I'll have to use a DPS. So my scores are not going to be as high. But what I really want to use this demo for is more kind of showing some of the micromanagement and decisions you can make in the battle itself, so you can maximize a tiny bit of extra points here in the battle. So one thing you always want to do is you want to start off with all of your single target attacks and then only use AoE attacks towards the end of the battle. This is because normally an AoE damage, if you actually add up all of the damage dealing out with AoE, they tend to be higher than single target when the enemy is like 3 or 4 units. However, it's going to be lower than a single target if there's only like 1 or 2 enemy unit left. So when you want to make the battle go as long as possible, obviously you want to deal out less damage. So normally you want to do single target attacks first, and then follow only use AoE when the enemy is only down to 1 or 2 units. So I'm starting off here with my Lotus using S2, so that's a single target attack, and also I was attacking the enemy which I actually have advantage against. So you can see this the sign of great, so that basically means I do more damage. And the reason why I do this is because Lotus annoyingly have this AoE skill 1, and because that has no cooldown, I'm forced to use that quite a lot. And I already mentioned, because it's an AoE, it's normally to your advantage you make the AoE land on as few as enemy as possible, so that overall it makes the battle go longer. So that's why I chose to actively kill out the enemies who I actually have advantage against in order to make sure that I'm able to kill them off. So therefore, the actual damage done by my AoE is actually going to be slightly less than it should, and then therefore help me to make the battle go slightly longer. And that's also what I'm going to do here with my Blue Yami. The other thing with Blue Yami is that, well, it's more kind of with Green Mimosa, but when you use a combo attack in conjunction with Green Mimosa, Green Mimosas are able to give a buff before the attack. So if I normally use a normal attack, it will only be plus 40. However, what you can see here is that Green Mimosa is applying a plus 40 already to buff up Blue Yami for the combo. And then afterwards, I'll get another plus 40 for the actual attack itself, which is very useful. So that's, once again, a tiny bit of a trick you can use. I was using my Green Mimosa also for healing, etc. And you have probably just seen right now I was using my Mars skill 1 and I had plus 40 twice showing up. And that's because I have the skill page which gives himself a buff before attacking. So that's why I have an extra plus 40 there, which once again is very nice. Now what you can see is I have changed the order I attack because I have already used my AoE on my Lotus. So therefore, I already know that my Lotus would not be use AoE straight away again because the next time my skill 2 will be back up and I can do a single target again. And that's why this time I'm actually switching up the order and I'm actually attacking an enemy who I do not have advantage against. So this way allows me to do slightly less damage and therefore make the battle go longer. So once again, a tiny bit of micromanagement that you can do in the battle. Now I once again always heal with my Green Mimosa. You now have my Mars would do the same thing, always attacking the same unit, try to get an enemy killed off first. And as you can see, I have 2 times the plus 40 because of the skill page. Now it comes to Lotus. One thing I forgot to mention is that when I was showing up the leaderboard, there's someone in my guild Discord, I think called Celeste. Well, I'm probably pronouncing the name wrong, so apologies. But you can check out the leaderboard. He's really high up in the leaderboard as well. But basically, he told me a trick, which is that if you actually make your DPS die off, then obviously you're going to do less damage. So sometimes what you can actually do is, for example, you can see the enemy hit my Blue Yami to get his health to only like halfway now. If I play around with RNG a bit more and make the enemy actually kill off Blue Yami, then basically I can go into the battle with no DPS, and only in the very end of the phase 1 I can then use my Green Mimosa to revive my Blue Yami and then make sure my Blue Yami is there from the very beginning in phase 2 and to remove the shield, etc. So that's a very, very good strategy you can use as well. I personally find it like too much RNG involved because you have to make sure the enemy actually kill off your Blue Yami, and then the revive itself also is RNG based on whether or not the revive is actually successful. And normally this stage it just takes too long, so I don't have time to do that. But if you do want to try out, I also think it's a very, very good strategy that you can try as well. So big shout out to him. All right, now let's continue the demo. So the battle keep going on. Once again, Lotus will be used single target attack, trying to kill off an enemy first. Blue Yami follow up, kill off that enemy, which is nice. You can see right now I'm on 520 points. Then Green Mimosa is forced to attack, but that's fine. Mars is going to use skill 1 for plus 80 points. All of that. To be honest, there's probably not too much commentary required from this point onwards because I'm just repeating exactly what I've been doing so far. It's kind of just doing all of the attacks. Single target if possible, otherwise just use AoE. And Mimosa is always going to be healing, etc. Alright, yeah, here's very straightforward. Always focus on the same enemy if possible. Here what you can see is that because the enemy is only going down to only just one unit, single target is now going to hurt a lot more than actual AoE, which is why I'm changing now to AoE attacks because now the trend has shifted. And now I'm going to use skill 2. Once again, skill 2, remember, Blue Yami's skill to buff up himself first before attacking, so that's why you see 2 times of the plus 40, and that's also very useful. Green Mimosa can then finish off, and I'm kind of entering the battle with 1,000 points, which is a very nice round number, I guess. Now I have Lotus. Lotus is going to use his special for Incapacitate. I was lucky here to get a slow as well. Now my Blue Yami is going to remove the shield from Noelle and kind of do damage, right? That is the DPS here. Green Mimosa is going to do attack. Now my Mars, if my Lotus has not been able to slow down Noelle, then I would have used the combo attack to slow her down. However, in this case, because she has already been slowed down, what I know is that Mars's combo attack is only plus 40 because it's just a combo attack. Whereas Mars special attack actually give himself a buff as well. So that's actually plus 80 points. So his special attack is actually a lot better than his combo attack. So in the scenario where I don't actually need to slow down Noelle, I would choose to use his special attack instead, and you can see I'll get plus 80 as a result. So once again, a tiny bit of extra points, which is always nice. Now, what's going to happen is that I always use Lotus skill 2 in order to make the incapacitate and also slow longer because his skill 2 extends the debuff duration. So that's really nice for me because I need that extra help in order to actually kill off Noelle. Green Mimosa is always going to be stony, so you already know that. And for Mars, I'm always using skill 1 once again because that gives a bit of extra points as a result. So here it's quite straightforward. For Blue Yami, I also try to use skill 2 if it does exist because once again I get extra plus 40 there compared to normal attacks. So you can see here, vast majority of my attacks is always give me plus 80 rather than plus 40, so that's always nice. Lotus is always going to try to use skill 2 if possible to extend the debuff. Here I can actually use. Okay, I think what I was debating there was that my special attack can probably kill off Noelle. However, I can see here her bar is still a bit, so I don't want to kill her off so quickly. So that's why I chose to use the normal attacks there to make the battle go again slightly longer. And here, once again, and here, I don't want to attack either because Noelle is already on really low health, so I have to use the ultimate to make the battle go longer again. Hopefully Noelle can put up a shield. Yeah, put up a shield, which is perfect for me because now this is making it even longer for me, which is exactly what I need. Now here, I was kind of debating once again, depending on whether I want to break the shield and finish this battle now, or whether I potentially want to make the battle even longer and score extra point by going with skill 2. So I was kind of like debating on how much damage I can actually deal out before the time runs out. And I think in this scenario, I decided to risk it for a biscuit, and got plus 80 points there. So that's the well, I know I cleared the stage, so that must have been the right decision. But that is one of those decisions you have to make on the fly. Here I once again playing it risky. I'm still not attacking to break the shield. Um, Here I am once again extending debuff with a single target. And here, okay, now I am actually removing the shield and finishing off this battle because I know the time is almost out. And there you go. This is how I achieved my score. And I think in total, I got, let's see how many scores I was able to get at this round. I got 3,516, so which was respectable. Definitely not high enough for me to get into the top three. However, it's enough for the top 100 rewards. And I honestly wish anyone who's watching this is able to do the same. But regardless whether your box is good enough, whether you have the good gears, etc., hopefully at least you can also replicate some of my tactics here in order to also score a high enough points in order to get that top 100 rewards.